I'm really happy to have you with me, Francois.
My pleasure.
First, maybe you should introduce a little bit who is Schneider Electric and what are you doing within Schneider Electric?
Schneider Electric globally is a large company, and to make it simple, our purpose in life is to power the new digital economy, and so that's why we deliver products and services which are, let's say, managing energy, doing energy management and automation. So mostly you see our products and services in buildings, large, small, your place here. You see us in plants, in factories, in data centers, and also in distribution, electrical distribution systems. Maybe quickly myself, I'm very pleased to be here because I started my career a while ago with artificial intelligence for French EDF and French Navy. And a few years after, AI is back. So I have known the spring, the winter, and back to spring. So I'm pleased to be back in the spring of AI.
Thank you. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm Eneric Lopez. I'm director of AI developer in France and Microsoft. We try to empower every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I think AI is a great provider in terms of innovation. And that's part of the conversation that I want to have with you. But also related to AI, there's ethical topics, but also skills issues or skills challenge, and we will cover also this skills part. Let's talk first about innovation. How do you see AI impacting your innovation? Do you have already business case in production or business case you are working on?
Yes, absolutely. We have some, not the number we would like, but we have some. So for us, basically, is because our systems are in many places, factories, buildings, we are, by the way, collecting a lot of data through our connected product and services. And so the key idea for us, and this morning we were talking about go-to-market, so our point is to find the go-to-market to leverage the business value of this data for our customers and therefore for Schneider, obviously. So example of what we are doing in this area. First need we have in terms of AI is basically, and Air France was talking about that, is about predictive maintenance, is detect, predict patterns in time series, in data, in order to anticipate a failure in order to make the proper decision. And an example of something we have in the field today for our services organization, let's take the example of an electrical transformers for example, an hospital. It's very critical that this equipment may overheat, and even in the worst case situation, it may explode. So you cannot imagine what could happen with the installation, the people behind it. So we developed, based on machine learning, we developed a service which is able to monitor the thermal condition of a transformer and therefore predict that it's going to be in a bad condition, and therefore you raise the flag to a services organization which immediately sends the right people, makes the right action to take preventive measure to avoid the failure, the fire, and even the explosion. Second dimension, predict values, forecasting. So it's a very classical stuff. Every Kaggle competition is about that almost. Here the idea is for us, let's take an example in a building. You need to forecast the weather for in a few minutes for tomorrow, and you need to forecast the occupancy of a building. That requires some data we can collect through our building management system. And here what we do is to optimize the set points of temperature in each room, in each places, according to the global condition of a building and the local condition, which are occupancy. Third dimension is we need application in which we do the optimal decision. And another example is at your place, at the thermostat level, if you have your own system, we developed and we need a capability to optimize the trade-off between the comfort of the occupant, if they are occupant in the place, and the energy bill at the end of the month, at the end of the year. So again, it's a need for optimization and support on decision function. And the last one is also we need interaction with our people. Let's take an example of one of our R&D engineer designing an electrical distribution system for a plant in Cambodia. And he is designing, doing electrical engineering, but then he needs to check if his design is going to be compliant with the local rules, standards, and regulation in Cambodia. And he doesn't know the rules in Cambodia, but he needs to adjust his design. So that's the kind of application on which we need also AI.
I love the different example that you took because it directly demonstrates that AI can have an impact not only on the operation, on your core business operation, but also on your services and go-to-market, but also can have an impact on your own employee and how you empower employee and provide them with new tools. Yeah. But let's talk, how did you find those business cases? How do you bridge the gap between the fact that AI technology can provide new services or can empower your employee and the fact that the business unit may not know what's possible if they have data or what is the use case? So how do you foster those different projects or use cases? How do you make them happen in real life?
So we have a, let's say, twofold approach. The first one, very French approach, structured. We have a process with stage gates. We try to be as agile as possible, but it's this classical stuff. We start with ideation and we go down to the deployment at scale with some pilot, proof of concept, and the prototyping phases in between. So here the point is not about the process. The point is to have put together the right capability to tour the business organization of Schneider and collect what are real customer pain points and issues which eventually could be addressed, solved with some kind of analytics, AI, and whatsoever, or we could say statistics. That's not the point. But that's the point is business value out of the data to solve customer pain point. And so we have put together a way to make the tour of our organization and collect and prioritize, obviously, in terms of business case, which are the good application for our customer and therefore for us. So that's the, let's say, traditional stage gate approach. The second one is a purely data-centric and opportunistic approach. We are, like many of our other people in industry, we are touring organization to collect data, Schneider data, our own plant data, our own process data, factory and so on, but also customer data with their authorization, obviously. So we gather data sources and we manage, collect them, clean them, eventually anonymize it if we want to make them external. And through each time we get one of these data sets in our data library, we question the data set with business people, saying what kind of business value we can get out of this data. And that's the second way we get Project AI on board. On the first approach example, the transform example has followed the first approach, and another example with Microsoft has followed the second, because we were having some very dynamic guy in oil and gas in Australia who was willing to take care of rod pump. Rod pump, in every US movies you see, you know, this pump in the desert area pumping oil. So these are named all rod pump, and it's very important in the oil and gas industry. And the guy in Australia was taking care of customers in that area, and he was having data, and it's critical to anticipate the failure of his equipment, because when it fails, the experts are far, far away, so it takes time to bring them on site, and it costs a lot of money because it's no longer pumping oil. So the idea, this guy says, let's do something around this rod pump, and we went to Microsoft, who did the first prototype together, presented at the Microsoft Ignite in 2016. And since then, we have developed the project, and it's on test at Schlumberger facilities in throughout Alberta, in Canada, and we will deploy that beginning of next year. And this project started from data and the customer and opportunistic data-centric approach.
Last question on innovation before we move to the skills topic. How do you innovate? Is it only internally, or do you have any partner, or is it a co-innovation, something that rings a bell for you?
So I will start, because you are beside me, I will start with Microsoft. Obviously, we are partnering with big software company, and not only Microsoft, because our customer, they don't care we use a Microsoft cloud, an Amazon cloud. They want the cloud they want, and it's never the same. So we need to be agnostic in terms of software technology. So we cooperate with Microsoft. Typically here in Station F, we are trying to engage with 3 startups, Prevision.io, Craft AI, and DC Brain. but also at a global level. We are cooperating at a corporate level with Microsoft on the Azure machine learning technology. We are using the studio approach, and we are considering to move to the Azure machine learning services approach. And obviously the project are already quoted. So that's an example of partnership. But obviously innovation is not only partnering between big guys, but it's also about university. We have contract with MIT, with Hong Kong University, with Mines de Paris, and others. We are also working with, let's say, consultant company, and I will come back later, but we work with Accenture, for example. We are also working with startups, and sometimes it's the ends, and I don't know if it's a good or a bad end, but we acquire some startups in the buildings area. Recently, we bought two US startups, one named Sense. We are also working locally, and I'm located in Grenoble because our capabilities are in France, are in Grenoble. We are contributing to the free AI call for the plan for France, and so we are part of the answer to the call to our government to build something around AI in the Grenoble area. We are also challenging and taking care, leveraging the data scientist community. We are launching analytics competition, not on Kaggle, but on driven data platform. And so we have already launched 4 competitions, so it's very good for us. We have our data sets, we anonymize them, and then we send competition to the world, and we see how the results are interesting and make us progress. And I think that's it.
That's pretty a lot of different partnership, and you cover all the different spectrum of the kind of partnership you can have. You were talking about data scientists in the community. You may have some data scientists also in your organization, but what about the skills? Not everybody is a data scientist. Not everybody knows about AI. So there's a reskilling, upskilling issue maybe in your organization, not only on the technical aspect, but also on the business aspect. How do you manage that?
Maybe on the organization perspective, Schneider is a big organization, 180,000 people worldwide. In terms of, we are an engineer organization, so there are 11,000 R&D people, and out of these people, we have identify a community of 150 people which are fluent in statistic, optimization, analytics, machine learning, and some AI. So this community, we take care of it, meaning this community has a mission and a leader, and this leader is in charge to define, again, throughout the business unit of Schneider, define the R&D research roadmap in this area of optimization, analytics, and AI. Second dimension, the leader is in charge to animate this community, to organize events, to make them know each other, work each other, and leverage their cooperation, their partnership worldwide together. And the third dimension, from an HR perspective, this community is in charge to take care of the training, of the recognition of our data scientists. We have a recognition program which named Edison, and so the best become Edison fellow, because we use now the American wording, so we have only 5 fellows in Schneider Electric. Out of this, we have 40 people, core team, in charge to deploy our mission. My team, our mission is to deploy analytics and the AI application in business units. And 40 people, 20 in Grenoble, 20 in the US, in Raleigh, North Carolina, and in Boston. And that's for the core team. Then regarding more specifically the competition of the rest, because it's only about 150. So what we did, we partnered with Accenture this time, but Accenture is already having a full set of courses around machine learning and artificial intelligence. Building this by ourselves would have taken years and not useful at all. So we decided to partner with Accenture, and we integrated 60 Accenture artificial intelligence machine learning courses in our HR training system. So everyone in Schneider Electric, 180,000 people, can do any kind of AI learning if their boss is okay, if I can do it. And to give you an example, 60 courses, 3,500 people registered, and almost 4,000 courses already completed.
This is great, because we, in a wrap-up, in the few remaining seconds, you demonstrated that we definitely need to foster what can data and technology bring to the business, and having in place some factories to foster those business, but to build MVP and put it in production to have really impact, but also at the same time take care of the different people in the organization with should it be MOOC, should it be training. This is something that we all have in mind, and we have different programs, and it was great to have you report on that.
And maybe to add something, also something we did is we with Accenture again, we designed an analytics factory, and the purpose of this factory is to deliver to the R&D guys, not completely fluent in analytics, on a GitHub, the capability to access Python code of core analytics. It's already embedded in Azure ML web service and ready to be used in business application. And obviously our team does the support.
That's great. Thank you, Francois.
My pleasure.
Thank you.